Get the defibrillator ready. We're talking increasing prices on Australia's #1 Tradies podcast.
Welcome to the Tradies Business Show, helping you get off the tools and into true business ownership so you can spend more time doing the things that matter most. Now, here are your hosts, Warrick Bidwell and Michaela Clark.
And welcome back to another episode of the Tradies Business Show. I'm Michaela Clark from Tradies VA, and I'm joined by
Warrick Bidwell, or Walker, if you listened to a couple of episodes ago, from Tradies Business Toolkit. G'day, listeners.
Now, today's episode is all about that question of, should you raise your prices?
Oh, ouch.
No, because you're going to lose all your customers. Don't do it.
That's right. And look, we joke around a little bit with this, but it is a big problem, isn't it, Michaela? We see lots of our clients wrestling with this one, is working their tails off and doing what they can to win work, and really getting to the end of the week or the month, and there's not a lot left for the business owner.
And they just feel like they've just done everything and tried to do their best, and at the end of the day there's no money in the account, and they've got tax bills and GST and all sorts of things keep going out, and they just feel like it's just money going in and money going out all the time. Yep,
and working hard for all of that. And even if it's not perhaps that dire, I suppose, it is still a challenge for a lot of trade businesses, is to find that sweet spot where they're charging what they're worth without scaring people away on price. So I think we should talk about rates and how to put them up.
Oh, how exciting.
And there is a way to do it without losing all of our customers. But before we talk about the how-to on this whole price increase thing, just stick with us, listeners, stick with us. I just want to share some simple numbers that, honestly, the first time I saw this, I had to whip out the calculator and double check, because it's like, no, it can't be that.
Now, numbers don't normally excite me, but these did.
So if you look at margin, so your profit margin, what's left at the end of the day, or at the end of the job for you, if, let's say, your current margin is running at 25%, which is probably pretty typical for most small businesses or trade businesses, and you discount your price by the good old-fashioned 10%. Okay, so it's not a lot of a discount.
Pensioners.
Yep. And
Cheap Tuesdays.
Most
10%.
people, like, if you hit up a business, say, hey, mate, what's your best price? Like, I'll give you 10% discount. Okay, It's a pretty standard sort of a discount that we give. So if you discount your price by 10% and you're running at a 25% margin currently, then your sales or your revenue need to increase by 67% for you to make the same dollar profit.
That's a lot.
So you've got to do almost 2/3 more to actually make the same dollar money just by giving a 10% discount.
Yeah, that's a lot. I don't think people have any idea that that's how much revenue they have to increase by to cover just that throwaway little, I'll just do 10%. So it comes back to really knowing your numbers and how important that is.
Absolutely. And the flip side of that, because I guess the fear is for our tradies is, if I put my prices up, then I'm going to lose customers, right? Because people go, oh, you're too dear. I'll go and choose a cheaper guy. Because there is a lot of competition out there, and we do understand that. But here's the thing, right? At the same 25% margin, if you raise your prices by 10%, so we go the other way, and you increase your prices by 10%, you can afford to lose 29% of your revenue. So almost a third of your customers could say, you know what, see you later, you're too dear, and you will make the same dollar profit. So you'll have the same cash left.
That's a lot of people that you can afford to lose and work less.
Totally. And look, my experience with clients is when they have raised their rates, usually they don't lose anybody, but even if they do, they are the price-focused discount shoppers that drive you up the wall, because the people that want the cheapest price generally are the biggest pains in the butt.
And they're the ones that not make you the money, so why service them anyway?
That's right. So, look, maybe you're not going to put your prices up, and we're okay with that, but at least stop doing the 10% thing, right? Because you're actually giving your profit, almost half of your profit, to your customer just for the privilege of doing the job for them. And I'm sure you've had clients figure this out as well. It's like, we just paid them to do their plumbing for them. That doesn't make sense.
Yep.
You know? So that's all well and good. How do we go about putting our rates up?
How do we do it
without losing our clients?
Yeah.
What's some of the things, I guess, and it was good if you go back to episode 28, listeners, Timbo Reed was on the show, had some great tips in there about marketing, about being a helpful business. I reckon that's one of the biggest ways to allow you to increase your prices a little bit without upsetting your customers and losing people, is just by being a little more helpful. And as Timbo said, those things don't actually have to cost more money.
That's right. And he gave an example about, if you're 15 minutes early to a job, just sending a text or a phone call. But it's all about adding value. So if you're helpful and they feel like they've got a great service from you, then they're going to be happy to pay just that little bit more. If they know you're going to be reliable, you're going to turn up on time, you're going to be looking good, you're going to provide them extra information. And it's about positioning what you're doing there as well.
Yeah, and I like that point about adding value. People want great value. And I've actually done a bit of a survey over the years. So I've been working directly with clients for 7, nearly 8 years now. And I've asked hundreds of people, if you had to choose between the cheapest price and the best value, which would you choose? And 100% of the time, everybody says, best value. I want the best value for money. I want a great deal. Not necessarily the cheapest price. Right? I know that's simplifying the matter a bit, but people want great value. They want to feel like they've got value for money. And it's actually quite simple to do that as a business and have people feel like you've delivered great value to them, because just like you said, all those simple things, phone calls and taking your boots off and carrying a dustbuster, and we've had some great examples from guests on the show of simple things that actually show, I suppose, more value and make people feel like they got a great experience or they got looked after. And all the way back to the episode we did with Adam Ellis from Allied Drafting Services, where basically one of his strategies was just giving a shit. That's made a massive difference to his business, where customers are like, wow, you really actually care about us. We're happy to pay you a bit more.
That's right. And it's about positioning what you do. So I know Tim, in the previous episode, did give an example about something that electrician could have done to surprise him. But I know something that my husband's done in his plastering trade, that is, if he sees a hole there and it's a little crack or whatever, he's like, look, do you just want me to fix that while I'm here? I'm not going to charge you anything extra. And they love that. I mean, it took him no longer than 5 minutes. But he gets a lot of repeat business because he does that kind of stuff. But it's also positioning about what you're doing. So there may be some things that you do on a job that you just do anyway, but it could be positioned as a free safety check for your house. Or it could be, we'll do something else. You do it anyway, but all of a sudden the customer thinks, oh, look at all the extra services I'm getting for you just coming to fix the light. So it's about that positioning and perhaps looking at packaging up what you can offer as well.
Yeah, so it is a really good point about that whole doing things for people that I suppose as tradies we assume that people kind of know that stuff. But often there are those little things that we do, checking things, while you're in the roof or under the car or whatever. It's just part of what you do because you've got so much experience at this and you are really good at your trade. But you got to remember, customers don't realise, they don't understand a lot of that stuff. And so it's not actually being dishonest to use that as a marketing tool and say, we've just done a 27-point safety check as part of your fixed price service. Normally that would be a $49 item. So to say that we've done that as an added value offer is it's certainly not dishonest, and people appreciate that sort of stuff.
That's right, and it also makes them feel valuable, but it also gives you the opportunity to upsell as well. If there was genuine extra things that you can see can need to be done that aren't safe or whatever it being, or it could be a potential problem in the short term, they may not take you up on that extra work now, but I'm sure that they're going to call you in 3 months' time when the problem exists.
And so one way to put up prices is to stop discounting. I know that sounds a little bit cute, but by just not doing that whole discounting thing, that's like increasing your prices by 10% on all those jobs where you've stopped doing that. A simple way to do that is with those sort of package deals where you package up some multiple services together. So instead of the itemised price, it's like, well, if you take it as a package, it's this, and it might be the same price or maybe slightly less, which is, we're bordering on discounting anyway. But even better than that is to perhaps add some products or, other little services that don't cost you very much to include. It's like, you go to a coffee shop and you get the little chocolate-coated coffee bean or something with your coffee. The places that do it gives them that little bit of posh and, makes you feel like, oh, I got a freckle with my coffee. If you don't know what a freckle is, and I'm showing my age, but anyway, we're going to leave that one alone. We're talking about filling cracks for free before. But, if you get that extra thing with your coffee, what do those things cost? Like 1 cent? But I guarantee the places that are serving those coffees are charging a little bit more than just your run-of-the-mill, cheap, takeaway coffee place.
That's right, and it's like an episode with Nick May from Walls by Design where he offers a lifetime touch-up guarantee while you're living in that house. Now, I'm sure it's a very, very small percentage of people actually take him up on that because they forget or don't actually believe it, but I'm sure a lot more people buy because of that service, and I'm sure he's not the cheapest either.
No.
But just that guarantee that lifetime touch-ups, even if it's the kids, scraped on the wall or whatever it being, that's a pretty cool service and wouldn't really cost him much because the amount of times he'd have to go back would be minimal. But like he said, when he does go back, often there's extra work he can point out. Yep. He's getting back in front of the customer again, he's staying top of mind, word of mouth referrals, all that comes back into play.
And look, it's I guess it's a bit cliched, but it's that way because it is actually true. And I've heard this used before, and I groan when I hear it. But it's like, would you choose the cheapest brain surgeon? Nobody would. Everybody wants the best. Sure, they want to pay the least possible for it, but it really is a value equation. And the great thing about value is it's a perception in the mind of your customer. It's not an absolute. You can't find, there's no formula for calculating value. It's about an individual perception. So if I perceive more value in driving a certain type of car because of the branding and the appeal that it has and what it says about me or whatever, then I'm likely to pay a little more for that because I want what that says about me or whatever. And it's the same with a trade or a service is, clean vans, good signage, nice uniforms, answer the phone promptly, call me 15 minutes before, text me 5 minutes out or whatever. A lot of those things are just, they're little perceived differences. And so I'm not going to choke on your bill because, you're professional. And if I think that you're professional, then I'm going to see that you are. It's like perception and reality are the same thing for consumers. So
yeah, that's right.
It's really using that to, I guess, our advantage and get what we're worth.
Got a question you want answered on the show? Go to tradiesbusinessshow.com.
And as I say to people, it's like, why wouldn't you want people to use you? Don't you do a good job? Don't you do quality work? Stop letting people go and use the backyard guy and the cowboy and be disappointed, because they're all the stories we both hear, Michaela. Do more to actually get people to use you. So, putting your prices up is not necessarily as scary as you might think.
No, I know I had a client recently that put their hourly rate up by $11 an hour, and they were just mortified to do that, and did not lose one customer, did not get one comment. They'd been doing that rate for years, and they were well underpriced, and probably still are. But, for them, they put it up, and, the wife said to me, I just can't believe the difference in our cash flow. Just that little mid amount has put it up and had no impact at all as far as lost customers. So even though they could afford to lose 30% of their customers, with the example before, they didn't lose one.
They didn't. Yep.
And he's so busy anyway, they can afford to put up their prices because he's booked out anyway.
Exactly.
So you can keep going to get that sweet spot of balancing all areas of the business.
And you were sharing a story with me a little earlier about a tradie that basically the client came back to his quote and said, it seems too cheap. So you can have the opposite problem if your rates aren't actually in that right range where it sends the wrong message to people. Because if it's cheap, we think we're going to get a cheap service.
That's right. And the quote was sent off. The customer came straight back on the email saying, "Are you sure that includes everything? It seems too cheap."
Have you missed something?
And I've gone, well, did you have a typo or something? You better just double check. But, instantly that tradie said to me, well, I'm going to lose that job now because they're just going to think I'm dirty and the cheapest.
Yep.
So straight away that perception was there. And, I mean, that wasn't the case, but it goes to show if you're too low, it can be damaging. So,
in terms of setting your rates, listeners, you don't want to be the cheapest because that obviously sends that message that you're cheap and nasty. Cheap and cheerful. I don't know what that is, actually. I haven't found anything cheap that's really that cheerful when it breaks. I'm not very cheerful. But, middle to upper, you may not want to be the dearest, although there's some tradies out there who are the most expensive, to use that languaging, in their market, and they're crushing it. Because they are the best. They do have great service, tradespeople, experience, the whole lot, and they're the real deal.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if you're in sort of that upper third, upper quarter in your marketplace with your pricing, that tells your potential clients that you're one of the good guys, you know your stuff, but you're not the most expensive that's out there. So that'll make it a bit easier for you when you do all those really cool things that we've talked about from previous episodes, with all the simple stuff, and create that great experience. Then people will see that that's justified.
That's right, and they're happy to use you.
Totally. So hopefully there's some points in there, listeners, on raising your prices. Hopefully you haven't had a heart attack and you're being revived right now.
And sorry about those pensioners on Cheap Tuesday. They're no longer going to get their 10% discount.
No more pensioner discounts. G'day to my mum and dad. My dad is a classic. He used to complain about that stuff when he was in business, and now that he's a pensioner, everywhere he goes, he pulls out the pension card. He's just getting his own back, I reckon.
So if you want to improve your cash flow, make sure to check out our show sponsors, MYOB, with their Pay Direct solution. Head to tradiesbusinessshow.com/MYOB, MYOB, and all the details are there about how to take mobile payments on the go and improve your cash flow. And
to never miss an episode, go to iTunes, hit the little subscribe button. It'll take you less than a second. And please, while you're there, leave us a review. We really want to get this show out to as many tradies and help them raise their prices.
And hey, if you leave a rating review, we'll give you a 10% discount.
No discounting on this show. Anyway, let's move on. And to find out more about either Michaela's business or mine, or anything else to do with the show, go to tradiesbusinessshow.com. And to get today's episode as well, tradiesbusinessshow.com/30 for episode 30. That's something of a milestone, isn't it?
It is 30.
30. We're 30 today. There you go.
We start our midlife crisis.
We're starting
soon.
to mature. Yeah, second one. Anyway, hope that was great for you, listeners. It was great for me. Until next time.
See ya.
Ciao.
You've been listening to the Tradies Business Show with Warrick Bidwell and Michaela Clark. Want to get off the tools and into true business ownership? Find out how at tradiesbusinessshow.com.